button wasn't muted, so I had to click it and unclick it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and by the way, welcome to Ethica America for part 2 of History of Religion. All right, let's get into it. Ready for this timeline real quick?
Mm-hmm.
All right. First, we got prehistoric and ancient religions before 3000 BCE. They're just called prehistoric religion. And then we got Mesopotamian or Egyptian religions. They're the Sumerians developed one of the earliest known religions, worshiping gods like Anu, Enlil, and Inanna. Ancient Egypt had a polytheistic belief system. Ra, Osiris, Isis. Isis? I don't think it's called Isis, is it?
Well, it's definitely not called Isis.
Isis. Maybe it's Isis. What do you think? I know it's Ra.
Probably not. Yeah. Probably Isis.
It's probably
Honestly.
Isis. Maybe it's is.
It is. Oh, I like that. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss god.
Yeah. Um, this is fun because like a lot of things like this are written, so we don't really count anything before written history. So there could have been
Mm-hmm.
way more religions from like Neanderthal times where they maybe
Oh, there
were.
definitely were. I mean, think about like the Native American religions where the earth is built on the giant back, or sorry, the land masses are built on the back of a turtle.
Yeah,
There's not a whole lot of written encounters of that. There are some, but it's mostly been a tradition that was passed down orally, um, similar to how stories were prior to what was it? It's the story that involves Beowulf. I can't remember the name of it.
right. Yeah,
Um, though that was just the first story written in English. Um, but it was written on stone tablets and it was really long.
yeah. Um, Archaeologists don't really count anything before written history because it's hard to put that into history before it's
Yeah,
written. But
I could see that.
yeah,
Plus, there aren't many people around from then, which makes it difficult.
sure.
Yeah.
So I always take like before 3000 BC. I always take that as a grain of salt because I'm sure we have way more stuff that. I mean, there's things like cave paintings, burial sites, and things like that for prehistoric religion. So that's like encompassing everything: shamanism, animism, things like that for the prehistoric religion. A a lot of I think is the cool religion. I mean, Egyptian religion is really cool too. Egyptian religion really just reminds me of the ancient Greek religions, like Zeus, Athena, and things with Ra for the Egyptian. But we didn't get an ancient Greek religion until 800 to 200 BCE. Before that, we had Hinduism came out before that, though, with in India, centered around rituals, hymns. They had fire sacrifices, but this evolved into Hinduism eventually with karma, with actions and consequences and things like that. And then we had Zoroastrianism around the 6th century, which we already talked about, and then Judaism around 1000 BCE. Then we had the ancient Greek religion. After that, Buddhism, 6th century BCE. I really like Buddhism with the Four Noble Truths. That's a cool story. Did, did we talk about that story before about like some rich prince that developed Buddhism?
Well, I mean, I know it. I don't know that we've ever talked about it,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was a
yeah. Basically, he had everything, but he felt empty, and then eventually he went from having everything and feeling empty to having nothing but feeling complete.
yeah. That's that reminds me of that full feeling because with Epicureanism, with feeling full is what you're striving for, and you feel full with two different types of um, pleasure, and that's moving, which where you're moving, you're trying to satisfy a desire, and then static pleasure is the experience of feeling full, and you can feel full
Hmm.
from just happiness, community, and things like that. Epicurus also wanted to avoid politics wherever possible, which is fun.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, though,
Yeah.
because politics will not leave you with a full feeling. It'll lead you with it'll leave you with a feeling of there's so many ways to fix the world, and yet here are these two numbnuts.
Wait, that's us.
Hmm.
We're talking
Yeah.
about stuff. It's fun. I always correlate how the House and Senate talk about, and like the how the presidential debates are from like the right and left, and they're basically just doing what we do, except like we pretty
Hmm.
much. I mean, sometimes we differ on some stuff, but for the most part, we just talk about how things should be. But they just do the same
Hmm.
thing, but in a wider audience is just listening to them, and they have more at stake than just making a podcast
Yeah.
or
Yes,
talking
that's
to
true.
your aunt and uncle at the Thanksgiving table and someone throws a turkey. But what else?
Yeah, and that's really the American way when you think about it.
That's what Thanksgiving's all about is everyone getting together, talking about politics, and everyone getting mad at each other.
Because we don't believe in the exact same thing as Uncle
Right.
Wayne.
Except we can all agree on one thing is we all want to be happy.
I don't even think that most people want to be happy. Most people have the opportunity to be happy or live a fulfilled life, yet a lot of them don't, whether that be from circumstance or because it's just not relevant to them.
Yeah.
I can think of plenty of contractors who they do not live necessarily happy lives. They yeah, some contractors are just silly. It's like you have everything there to make you happy. You have gotten more dollars than what you ever could have in a different profession.
Yeah.
Yet here we are. And what are you doing?
Yeah. But then you look at someone at the gas station in a car that's barely driving, and you're like, I mean, I wonder how they're getting by. I wonder how their life is. And then you compare it to your
You
own,
know,
and you're like, I'm doing pretty good.
a lot of those guys who have those cars that barely drive it, I'm certainly not suggesting all. I'm certainly suggesting maybe like 20%, 30%. You would be surprised at the amount of people who they could afford to buy a brand new car right out, but they are just too cheap, and this thing should run for a little bit longer.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah, not my own experience, um, but a friend of well, he's not a friend of mine anymore, but he used to work at a tire shop where the guy would bring in like there was this there were a few clients who were well to do,
Hmm.
and they would bring in these big piece of shit box vans or whatever, and he's like, it's cheaper than buying a new a new thing to just have this repaired once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they would just keep bringing it back and back and back. I mean, just because you're rich doesn't necessarily mean that you're good with money. It just means that you figured it out in one respect.
Yeah.
So,
There was I read a story on Reddit where a guy was he sold his business for like $30 million or something like that.
hmm.
And he gave a bunch of money to his family. He bought a bunch of stuff. He bought like a racetrack, and um, at the end of it, he was left with like nothing, like $30,000 or something like that.
Hmm.
And he just told the story of like how he used to be rich and now he's poor because of day trading and just frivolous spending. So yeah, it happens. I have no idea how. I mean, I could never spend $30 million.
No, I don't think I could either. Because at a certain point, common sense kicks in, and you're like, I don't need $100 dinners every night. You know, McDonald's is just fine. It's good at two things. One, quick. Two, convenient. Three, I guess everything tastes the same. So,
Even if you just have $30 million and you put it in a CD, that's
mm-hmm.
1.5 million a year that you're just getting back. Like
Uh-huh.
I only think I could spend 1.5 million in a year, unless
And
I'm
there
like,
and there are even better ways to like make that money. If you have that much money, just throw it in index funds for the most part. You feel like the market's about to crash, withdraw. Like
yeah,
usually the market will rebound eventually, but these things aren't that complicated.
yeah, I. But yeah, I mean, I know that some celebrities have spent all their money, so
Oh, I constantly think about how Willie Nelson's doing. And to preface this, I'm not actually joking, right? Because whenever it comes to a situation where it's like, what good decisions could I make? And I think about people like Willie Nelson. I'm like, so is the opposite of the decision that he would make, that is what I should be doing.
that's fair.
But it leads to some comical thoughts. So, as an example, should I speed? Willie Nelson would speed. I ain't Willie Nelson. Like, would I smoke weed while driving? Fuck no. But Willie Nelson. Uh,
What if Willie Nelson wouldn't smoke weed while
mm,
driving?
then I would call him a liar. Because
Fair.
in my head, it has very little to do with what Willie Nelson would actually do and what a person who makes bad decisions would do constantly. And I just feel like
Okay.
Willie Nelson has made a lot of bad decisions. So it really, it's less about Willie Nelson and more about my perception of Willie Nelson. But
Yeah,
simultaneously, he's already made his $1 million at one point or another. So maybe we all need to be a little bit more like Willie Nelson. Ryan's Rants, brought to you by the Cookie Monster. Cookies.
so we got two HelloFresh meals last week. One of them
Mm,
was like a grilled cheese bar. So you have like the base grilled cheese, sourdough
mm-hmm.
bread, cheddar cheese, whatever. And then we had the option of sauteing like mushrooms, onions, and some tomatoes on it.
Oh man,
Yeah.
how was it?
Um. Well, I don't like tomatoes, and it seems weird to put onions or tomatoes on a grilled cheese. So we just made the grilled cheese and then used those other stuff for other other meals.
No, well, that makes sense.
And then the same thing we did with like a pasta thing where we made the base pasta and then we had
Mm.
like a marinara sauce and then like a creamy sauce and then some other toppings to put onto it. So
Was it
that's
delicious?
nice. It was okay. We probably wouldn't do that one again.
5 out of 10. It will sustain, but
Yeah. Like the way they had to do the marinara sauce, it was just okay. It wasn't like a super like flavorful like how the other marinara sauces are have been for HelloFresh. So
yeah,
I think they were just trying to do too much and
no,
it was taking away some of the other parts of it.
fair enough.
So,
Did you try the holy habanero
no.
sauce? Oh, I don't think they make it. I'm just making shit
There's
up.
been a couple things like stuffed peppers or something like that that we don't do because we don't really like peppers or Amanda doesn't like. She thinks pepper's too spicy, so
Mm-hmm.
we don't do a whole lot of spicy stuff.
No flavor in your lives. I got it.
Have you seen the TikTok things of like people saying don't put your hot sauce in the refrigerator and then they go to their hot sauce, quote unquote, and they pull out the mayonnaise and it says refrigerate after opening, or the ketchup that says refrigerate after opening.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is that people seem to think that because something has vinegar in it, it's naturally acidic and therefore will ward off bacteria on its own. But I think we've established previously that people are dumb.
Yeah. Where did I leave off from my timeline?
That I don't remember. So we were talking about Romans last I knew.
Oh, ancient Greek, and then Buddhism and Jainism in 6th century with yeah, because Siddhartha Guatemala.
Did you say Sid Hardy, Guatemala?
Gatama. Siddhartha Gautama, I'm gonna guess. He came up with Buddhism. And then we got the classical period of Christianity in 200 BC to 500, uh, Roman Empire.
Don't forget about the Crusades. I know we're not quite there yet, but we must kill in the name of our Lord.
I wonder if I see my timeline doesn't even mention the like it just has
Crusades.
a brief history of the religions. It doesn't even go into the
Mhm.
Crusades.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
fine.
so Christianity and then Roman paganism to Christianity and then Buddhism spread.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're really once you hit 1100 to about 1250, that's when the Crusades start.
Right.
Really through about 1300.
Yeah, 500 to 1500 was Islam. Prophet Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
It's based off the Quran, which Muslims
Mm-hmm.
believe is the word of God. And then and that was split into two main branches, Sunni and Shia.
Mm-hmm.
And Shiaism and Christianity, the Great Shiism split Christianity into Roman Catholic Church in the West and the Eastern Orthodox Church in the East, largely over dictatorial and political differences. And that's where, like, I think a lot of differences in religion for the Christianity and Catholic happened. And then
Yeah.
Buddhism in India. Buddhism declined in India, and Hinduism became more dominant during that time as well.
Yeah.
And then European Christianity and the Catholic Church around that time as well. Oh, and then the Crusades happened in not 19, 1090,
1096.
1996, basically. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Same thing. Oh, we're 900 years off, but I mean, we're talking about millennia of timelines here. So, like, being off by 900 years.
the Crusades happened in 1990. Oh my God, why do I keep saying 1995? It's 1095 to 1250.
1776.
But we've never we that battle has always been waging since 1095 to 1995 to 2005 to 2095.
Well, I mean, yes and
Just
no, but like you said, there was a period where, like, probably after the Civil War, where Christianity waned quite a bit because people were struggling. And what sort of money do they have to throw into religion? Like, how some churches have survived for this long is just beyond me because, like, people have been broke since the founding of America, from the stories I've heard, anyways.
yeah. I mean, this doesn't even mention the Viking religions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
So
mean, yeah, but those died out long, long ago. So,
yeah,
same with, like, really any sort of Norse religion. I mean, it also doesn't go into religions of, like, mainland China, which, I mean, those were vastly different. I mean, think about it. Up until, like, World War II, Japan thought that the emperor was a god. So, like, which reminds me, um, I know I know something that we should talk about on a future episode. I won't spoil it right now, but
oh,
it
okay. Is it
involves
microwaves?
man, we probably should talk about microwaves at some point, but no, no, it involves a very specific group within the Japanese government leading through World War II. Probably
Oh,
were
okay.
around for about 40, 50 years, but, like, there's some dark shit in there.
I believe it.
Unless you have anything you want to add, let's talk about, like, modern day religion. for a minute. I mean, we got all sorts of different religions and philosophies that exist out there in the world right now. Whether you believe in the Chase Bank glitch because your demon god decided to uh, show that to you on your glorious FYP page,
Yeah.
or maybe you're in the middle of the Bama, in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and what you have going on is literally a church that's still stuck in the early 1950s. And maybe you think a little bit differently from that, from the teachings of the church, from the ideas on how to treat other people, from the ways that you can make money. Maybe you're more ethical, maybe you're less ethical. But where is that modern state of, and I know this is putting it under a very broad shoulder, but where is that current state of religion and the religious teachings? Where is that at right now?
Where is modern Christianity right now?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like it's where social media says it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like every church is the same. And I feel like putting it under one broad shoulder like that is actually quite dangerous. It was more or less a trick question because you can't put everything under such a broad spectrum because every church is a little bit different. You might have
Right.
some churches that are more about helping the homeless and feeding people who maybe they're not homeless but they're low income, and maybe the church is like 50-50 in the middle of a bad Chicago neighborhood where some people they made it out but they're
Yeah.
helping those other people to make it out, right, to enable them to do better. Whereas you have other churches who maybe they're not doing so much for everybody else, even though these are the teachings that are in the Bible. Love thy neighbor like you would love yourself.
Yeah. I think I think we have gotten a new stance on religion since different popes have been in, and because of social media, and it's easier to broadcast thoughts. And but when every time we get a new pope, they're always saying, like, I think it was two popes ago that said that they believed in evolution rather than creationism because of how the science is. And then
Was
it
this
was,
Pope Benedict?
I forget which pope it was.
This sounds like Pope Benedict because at the end of it, he said that, well, it, it is my favorite quote by a pope, but I'll let you go on for a moment first.
Yeah. And then the new pope was talking about how we need to accept everyone, whether they're gay or transgender. So I think the popes and just how society is progressing is also changing how we view religion.
Yeah. Well, Pope Benedict XVI, um, after his 8 years in charge of the Catholic Church, he gave a speech when he was stepping down, right? And in that, he had said, "Sometimes, quote unquote, the Lord seemed to sleep." Basically, he would try to, um, he would have hoped that the Lord had done different, right? But a lot of times, when asked or called upon, or Pope Benedict saw something, the Lord just seemed to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember that because like he wasn't really a great pope to begin with,
Yeah.
right? But simultaneously, he was trying to do a few things, whether they came into fruition or not. But to say that this all-knowing, all-powerful being was just snoozing away, not acknowledging anything that was going on in the world.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a brash statement from a pope, if you understand what I'm saying. That's basically like saying God has done nothing at times.
I mean, some people think that God hasn't done anything. He was just a first mover, and he did the Big Bang, and he's like, "All right, I'm done. I'm out. Peace. Enjoy your
He's
universe."
probably out of energy.
As something
It's a
that's
lot of
all powerful, all knowing, just be out of energy.
I don't know. I mean, even Link in The Legend of Zelda, he has to replenish sometimes. And Link came to town to save the Princess Zelda.
Yeah.
It's his whole intention. But even he's got to be sleepy sometimes.
Yeah, true. I mean, maybe that is it. I feel
Oh,
like at some point it just becomes a fantasy thing of what you think and how you justify everything,
yeah.
because we're not
I still, well, and honestly, I think it has more to do with the community that you're a part of. Because some churches, they, like I said, they do great things.
yeah.
But in my experience, there are a lot of them out there. I shouldn't even say like more than the
There's
others, but there are a lot of them out there that just prey on everybody to get every nickel and cent. I remember there was this church, and it might as well be a mega church that my ex-wife took me to once, right? And actually, she took me there multiple times. She was trying to get me to go to this church, but they literally, like, once every 2 months would have a sermon on tithing and why it's important and why the Lord wants us to give him my money.
yeah.
And it's
It's
like, you already pay taxes, it's already hard enough to survive. Meanwhile, I liked this other church, right? That they're like, we don't really want your money. What we want is like to help everybody. So if you can donate engine oil, bring in some engine oil. We don't care what type because some oil is better than nothing. Bring in
yeah.
oil filters. And then we're just looking for volunteers to change oil. That way we can keep ourselves sustained and move forward from there. And it
Right.
was like, I thought that was really cool. I wasn't allowed to help, but I thought that was a really cool thing
It is cool.
because it's like, well, it's like, here's a bunch of people, and they're like, yeah, we realize that we're in a low income neighborhood. We realize that we don't have the best state of the art sound system or the best church or anything like that, right? But then my ex wife's friend got fired from there, and all of a sudden it's, oh, they're devil worshippers. They're the worst. And it's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, I think they were doing all right, and I still think they're doing all right. They upgraded to a bigger church years later,
Yeah.
but
Um,
they're still doing the same shenanigans where it's like, we're just going to help the people. Well, the money that comes in, yeah, we have like bills to pay. We're not going to argue that, but we keep them low enough that we can use most of the rest on, helping
yeah.
the rest of our congregation. A sense of community, a sense
That
of
is something
belonging.
that did change in the 1900s. Was that a lot of churches, like I'm gonna say, a lot of the not a lot, but a lot of the mega churches, like the ones that are huge churches that are multi-billion-dollar corporations, basically, they they turned into like a capitalism, and they turned away from like that socialism, because a lot of churches before the 1900s were like preying on socialism and helping the community and everything like that. And then there was this weird turn in the 1900s. I can think it was around the 1940s, 1950s,
Yeah.
where it became more of like a corporation, like right wing Republican propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
that's
you
something
got to
that
think.
changed, which is different
Well, I
than what
mean,
even the Pope has been spouting, like
right.
about progress and acceptance and, you know,
What?
more like
Well,
church thingies, like
mm-hmm.
socialism and acceptance and love and things like that, rather than
Rather
whatever
than
being
hate Dems and do this or that. Yeah.
yeah.
But you got to think that the right wing party wasn't always like this.
No, they weren't.
I mean, I would say the past 30 years have really taken a toll on them.
Yeah, I'd say
And now
40.
you
But, but
have,
yeah,
fair enough.
it's been a
Since Reagan, yeah.
yeah, it's been a slow. It's been it's it's a long game for them, and they they got the conservatives on their side rather than going with socialism and being on the Democrat side. Because I feel like socialism is more for Democrats than, but I feel like both of them don't really like socialism because they like money.
Yeah.
But
Money's nice.
I feel like more socialists are on the Democrat side than Republican side.
I would tend to agree. But then again, Russia did just pay like a bunch of money to what was the right wing media company? Oh god, that's gonna bug me. Russia pays journalists. Um, they were paying them like $100,000 um, to write articles in favor of the Kremlin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about this or no?
No.
You're really out of the loop this week.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
out of the loop for a lot of things, I guess. I've been playing a
Tenet
lot of
Media.
Hearthstone.
Tenet Media. Tenet Media scandal. Yeah. So Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, Taylor Hanson, Mac Christensen, Lauren Southern. They're all influencers for Tenet Media, and a lot of them were caught taking the taking Russian bribes, so that way they would talk nice about Russia for a
Oh
little
wow.
bit during. I think it was during Trump's presidency,
Yeah.
while he was acting like he was rebuilding, you know, our relationships with Russia, when in reality it was just, I mean, if you look at the big picture, like we started making headway with Russia in the 90s, and then
Mhm.
Putin got into office and through an illegal sort of election, and things have taken a backwards slide back towards socialism, not even really, well, no, communism, not even really socialism.
Great.
So it's very depressing. But at least Putin's happy. I'm having one person's happy. So,
Exactly.
and I mean, Tim Pool probably is too. You know, getting $100,000. Benny Johnson.
I'm sure
They're all
everyone,
probably very happy.
anyone that has a bunch of money is probably happy.
Yeah,
I,
probably.
I mean,
Money doesn't buy happiness, though, but it sure solves a lot of other problems.
it does.
Yeah.
I I would be happier if I had more money because then I wouldn't have to work, and that's just more time to be with family, and that's what's really important.
Well, there's always the argument of time versus money.
Yeah.
Most people think they can have both, but they end up with none of either. But at least they live in a nicer house than me, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll buy a house one day. Maybe the housing market will crash, and I'll be able to buy a house again.
I hope so.
Me too. So I want a bigger computer desk.
Yeah, damn it. Not this piddly shit. I want things that it's the opposite of communism. You
I
want
know.
not the standard size desk, but you want a premium desk.
I don't even want a premium. I just want a bigger one. But then I have need a bigger room because I need a bigger desk. It's just one of those things.
First world problems.
Kinda, yeah. Hmm. I didn't know that Mormonism was a pretty newer religion with like the
Oh yeah.
1800, the 1900. a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that happened after the Crusades is like reformation of Catholicism, and then
Hmm.
colonialism coming over to America with indigenous people, and then
Yeah.
more Christianity, more Hinduism, more Muslim.
Hmm.
Basically, after 1800, it's the big ones: Buddhism, Christianity, Catholicism,
Hmm.
and then just all sects of those things.
Yeah.
But then everything changed in 1900, where it's all propaganda and money and capitalism. There's a church down the street from me, and every time I drive by it, I think about it. But they have a sign that says 100% funded by God, and I often
Hmm.
wonder how that happens. Like, is God just like giving them money, or are they
I
robbing
assume he
pigs?
writes a check every month.
Yeah. there's a there's a thing that was told to me was that the only thing God can't do is create $100 bill because it's fraud.
Hmm.
So he's just writing fraudulent checks, and then people are
Hmm.
depositing into them, and that's really
Yeah.
just TikTok right now.
Hmm.
Circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Chase Bank probably does help.
You know,
So, yeah.
God's giving people fraudulent checks, and
Yeah.
Chase Bank's like, no, God, you can't do that, and then punishing the people that are depositing those fraudulent checks rather than punishing God for giving them the fraudulent checks.
Yeah. Do you know how? So, I mean, the Mormon Church is obviously based on Christianity. Have you ever looked into how Joseph Smith came up with his divine words?
Um, let's see. Was a burning bush?
No. No, this is actually, I guess this makes more sense than a burning bush now that I think about it. So, no. So, like, he had this seer stone, right, that he placed in a hat, and he pressed his face in the hat to block out extraneous light. And from the seer stone, he was able to read aloud the English words that appeared on it and describe the entire Mormon faith with the help of an interpreter.
Oh,
Prolific man.
nice.
Did you also know the Mormon Church stalked the creators of South Park for like 3 years or a year or something like that to find out because they were making fun of the Mormon Church, right? So they stalked them for a few years to figure out some sort of secret on them to basically blackmail them with.
Mhm.
All to just find out they're pretty normal dudes who live pretty normal lives, and there's nothing really there as far as scandal is concerned.
Wow.
Let me see if I can find
And
that
then South Park
article.
sued him for stalking them.
Yeah, maybe. I doubt it. I think they eventually went on to write a play called The Book of Mormon to make fun of him more. So I feel like that's probably how they got their vengeance on that one. So Mormon stalk South Park creators.
I guess it really just comes down.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was Scientologists who
Oh,
stalked them.
I know they have a ton of Mormonism and Scientology jokes in their episodes, so it could have
Yeah,
been either one. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
I
Anyhow, that's about all that I've got. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
I do like their Mormonism episode though. I do like both their episodes for Mormonism and
Yeah,
Scientology. Both those episodes are really good. They're just funny.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, I was just gonna say like it really just comes back to which community you are a part of when it comes to your religion. Because like I know people that are part of like a cult that are part of Christianity, and then that church is kind of scary. But then I
Mm-hmm.
also know some people that are a part of like my mom's church has really been into socialism and helping the community,
Yeah.
and
I mean, it all really
that's
just depends on, you
yeah,
know,
it really
the upbringing.
and there's And I always tell people, like, whenever I get into like philosophical debates with people about religion, I always tell them,
Hmm.
like, there's a point where if you read the book verbatim and you differ in one aspect of it, you're not going to be 100% part of that Christianity or Catholicism or something like that. You're going to have your
Yeah.
own point of view of what religion means to you. So if you
And
just
I
take
think
that,
that's probably most people.
it is. Everyone's going to have their own point of view of how their own religion is going to be. So
Hmm.
it's more like you you got to learn for yourself and what it means for you, rather
Yeah.
than having someone tell you what it means to be what it is to
Hmm.
be.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to people because, like, my mom, for example, she's a Catholic. She's always been Catholic, but she also doesn't 100% believe on like the birth control part of Catholicism.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a big one for Catholicism, but like
Hmm.
it's also an older religion, so you
Yeah.
got to adapt to it, have your own beliefs on it, and have your own point.
Eventually, the Catholics will be more like Amish than you or I even realize.
Yeah, and everyone's going to be a different type of Catholic or Christian. Every single one. Not everyone's going to have the 100% view on everything, and everyone's going to be different. So there's
Hmm.
an infinite amount of different ways to be a Christian or a Catholic, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with any of that. Just
No.
do your own
No, I
thing.
would say blindly following would probably be worse than differing a little bit here and there.
Yeah,
In the words of Joseph Smith, ye tango us plenum, God send us an HVAC system. He didn't say it. I made that up. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
it's all right.
Yeah.
And what else do I got? Um, yeah, I had a train of thought again, but it's gone.
We're giving you time.
I know. All we got is time until we are out of time.
Oh, total bummer.
Yeah,
Total bummer. Total drag.
yeah. You know, it's tough. Probably something to do with atheism, but
Yeah.
because we,
Or agnosticism.
yeah, I mean, agnosticism, and if you're a good atheist, you're agnostic. If you're a bad agnostic, then you're not really going to be people that hate real.
You're not going places.
Yeah, people that
Is
hate
that what you?
religion, that are like just
Oh.
completely anti-religion. They I mean, I also think bad about them too because you shouldn't be hating on someone because like they're finding their own moral ethics through religion. You can also find your own moral ethics through how you're through anything really. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just
You could
so
find it from going from a prince to being homeless.
exactly, and
Yeah.
then that's what's important is just to find your own moral compass and follow it.
Yeah.
It's the
I
words
tend to
of
agree.
Nietzsche said, "God is dead. We have killed him."
Wait, God's dead?
Yeah,
No.
good
Weird.
old Nietzsche. I even mentioned Nietzsche in that.
Hmm.
That would be a good
Yeah.
YouTube short. Nietzsche saying God is dead, we have killed him, which just means we have lost the purpose of having God be explaining everything because of science.
That's not how the masses take it. Masses take it as you don't like our God.
Yeah, kind of. It's true. And God wants us to have all our guns, so that's what the masses say.
Guns and Bibles don't mix except on Sunday. Then they're the best mix. I got
Yep.
nothing.
All right. Tune in next time when we have another talk about something.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Maybe microwaves.
Yeah, they're the greatest invention for popcorn ever.
I wonder if you can make popcorn in air fryers.
Probably.
I guess you can.
I saw it on TikTok, so I don't know how valid that is.
well, TikTok shows us how to do all the great hacks. So tune in next time
Hmm.
when we talk about TikTok hacks.
Oh man, TikTok cats. I love cats.
I, th-
I mean, if you ever do that, I got you.
I think we had an episode about TikTok hacks already, but we can do a part
Yeah,
two on
probably.
TikTok hacks.
Well, I mean, most of them aren't exactly great.
All right, tune in next time. Top 10 best TikTok hacks of 2024.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm Ryan.
On Aaron.
Later, Gator.
Hasta luego.
Popcorn TikTok.